Moving forward, next we delve into the session on the topic analytics and AI's impact on tax collection, GSTN. Let's hear from an expert how analytics has helped establish a uniform interface for the taxpayer while connecting all states on one platform, and to see that there are no fraudulent transactions and that there is transparency. We have with us this afternoon Colonel Pankaj Dikshit, Senior Vice President, IT, GSTN. Colonel Pankaj has rich and varied experience in the domain of IT, having majored in computer tech from IIT Delhi and graduated in electronics and telecommunications from JNU. He successfully designed technology solutions and inducted cutting-edge technology in the Army for more than 2 decades. The chair for the session is Ashish Aggarwal, SVP Policy, NASSCOM. It's a pleasure to have you both join us this afternoon. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Justin, for the introductions. Hello, Pankaj. How are you doing today?
Hi, Ashish. Good to be with you here. I'm fine.
Great. So I think for those of you who may not know, the Goods and Services Tax Network, which is really building the indirect tax platform for GST, and Pankaj has been the architect for that. In fact, he has been there before even GST got really rolled out. So what we're going to do today is to talk about how the GSTN is actually using artificial intelligence and machine learning. And Pankaj, broadly, there are 3 areas where we have seen use of AI, particularly in tax administration. Either it's audit selection or guidance to the taxpayers, or improvement of internal efficiencies. Stuff like AI-based virtual assistants, use of predictive technologies for guiding the taxpayers. These are some of the things that at least we are observing globally. In fact, I was looking at a recent OECD survey, and I think India is part of that. So I wanted to start by asking you, how has been the use of AI, particularly in the GSTN, and where are we today in terms of using the technology, and what are some of the benefits that you're already seeing, Pankaj?
Thanks, Ashish. Good to be talking on this subject, which is very, very current, and it brings about a lot of excitement in everybody's minds as to how AI being used to crunch the tax data, and obviously for the benefit of the country. So I'll go a little back and give you the background. You see, when we planned and designed and architected the GST system, we knew that we will be collecting a humongous amount of data, right? So one factor that we kept in mind and we used that was to use big data. So the latest technology at that time was the big data that we have to use, and not conventional databases. That helped us to collect data on a huge basis. Second thing was that we knew that this data is going to be very rich, because till then or even till date, there is no other system which collects such a rich amount of commercial and economic information for the let's say the economic pundits. We had that vision right in the beginning, and we kept that as one of the phases in our GST system project design itself. So while the phase 1 and 2 were basically focused on bringing the GST features and services to the taxpayers and the tax administration, phase 3 was focusing on the BI aspect itself. Why we had kept it in phase 3 was because, as you would know, GST system was a greenfield project. We migrated from a very disparate and a diverse tax system to a single homogeneous and solitary and unitary e-governance system, which had the complete tax information of 36 states and the center also. So when we did that, we knew that the amount of data will be huge, and we kept and that would take time. So when we went live in July 17, we kept the BI system for going live about a year after the GST went live. In about a year's time, we had the data, but we were also looking at the best ways and mechanisms of doing the analytics. Various options were shared. Should we give it to a third party? Should we give it to a government agency? Should we give it to a partner? I think the right decision we took was no. Nobody can understand business like the business, as they say. So we kept the BI within our GSTN itself. We built the team from scratch. We built the system from scratch. And building the system meant we had to get the right amount of compute, the storage, and the algorithms to do that. And we took the help of the academia from the IITs and IIMs to help us guide and guide us as to how we'll go about it. So in short, that journey has been very exciting and very productive. And today we have a very robust AI and ML based analytics system for GST, which crunches the data and gives outputs as you mentioned 3-4 scenarios, but there are many more that we come up on a day-to-day basis to ensure that we do the right thing for GST.
Have you looked at, Pankaj, in terms of, do you look at like what kind of benefits have been achieved in terms of, some metrics, whether it's internal efficiencies or fraud detection, prevention? Is there some kind of a benchmarking that internally that you do, and you can say that therefore where we are today in terms of the use of technology?
Yes. So you see, the proof of the pudding is in eating, and that is shown by the numbers that you would be tracking on a month-on-month basis when the GST revenues are announced. When the GST went live in 2017 July, we started with a monthly collection of about 60 to 70,000 crores. And we struggled with that partly because of the GST regime itself, being a new regime, and took time for the taxpayers to understand. Thereafter, we stabilized at around 90,000 crores. And then, of course, COVID struck. But thankfully, you would have seen in the last, once COVID wave 2 got over, and from October, November of 2021, you would see and notice a very steady increase in revenue. And now we have stabilized at around 150,000 on a month-on-month basis. And we expect that going forward, this would plateau out and only on the upper side and not on the lower side. So how this has happened is because we have used AI and ML to crunch the data that we have. We have tried to plug the loopholes which are used by the trade and commerce and the people with malified intents to avoid taxes or to get involved in other practices like circular trading or trying to claim ITC which is not legitimate. Having detected that and provided it to the state administrations as well as the central administration, we've been able to get this far as stabilizing the revenue is concerned. On the other side, so we use a two-pronged approach. On the other side, we also predict taxes for jurisdictions and tell them that based on past performance, this is what you should be expecting. Now, the tax administration is, given a heads up, and they realize that this is what actually should come. Having that figure, they ensure that it is also met, give or take a little bit here and there. So this two-pronged approach has helped, bring benefit to the GST revenue stream.
Pankaj, a couple of new things are now, I think, on the horizon in terms of you look at the journey of GST, right? We have gone past the first 5 years now. And one thing definitely is that the entire phase of audit and scrutiny is now picking up. And that's going to happen. Second thing which is happening is that in quick succession, over a period of time, government has reduced the thresholds for e-invoicing to happen, which means now I think we are at 10 crore, right? Which is the next block which is coming up. So with all of this, the use of, again, AI in terms of both making the audits much more effective and also giving you much more data which you can use. So if you take that and then you also look at the fact that from an industry perspective, they are going to be dealing with state authorities in terms of various resolution of their audit observations and so on and so forth. So when you look at all of this together, is there a way that the kind of challenges which come into the audit process some of those can be standardized based on the feedback that you are able to now observe using technology?
Yeah, so I'll answer your question in two parts, Ashish. One is, that you mentioned about the e-invoice. The second part I'll take first. You would know that the GSTR1 is basically a summary of sales, whereas e-invoice, which we register for the sellers, is a complete invoice which a seller makes for his buyer. It's not a summary. So you can understand the level of details in the invoice are all going to be available in the GST system for analysis and for detecting and using AI and ML algorithms on that data. So imagine from October 2020, when we began the e-invoice journey till last month, we have crossed a figure of 200 crore e-invoices in the GST system. Now, each invoice would have, let's say, we have a total template of 165 parameters. But even if every trade doesn't use all the parameters and take an average of 40 or 50 parameters, you multiply 200 crore by that 50 and you come up with again a humongous number. And our AI and ML will use that. So be it district to district transactions, be it jurisdiction to jurisdiction trade, be it a commodity wise coming from a particular region, be it an industry in a particular part of the country, all that data, because we collect the addresses, pins, sales from and to. If you combine the data and the results that you want to generate from the data, it's mind-boggling. So the e-invoice is going to be another game changer for AI and ML because of the richness of the data that it brings. Coming to the first part of question about generating leads for audit or for assessment or other such activities, that is but natural. And like I mentioned in earlier part of my conversation, the AI and ML that we have used is actually used to plug those kind of activities without becoming overbearing on the taxpayers. So like I mentioned, we provide these leads to the jurisdiction in the form of nudges and, guiding them that, look, there might be some places where your revenue might be leaking or there might be some evasion. On the other side, like I mentioned, you provide them with targets also. So both these help to steady the revenue without overbearing on the taxpayer or making it look like an audit or an assessment which is out of the ordinary. We do not want to make that an inconvenience for the taxpayers, which is the primary objective of this regime.
Pankaj, one thing in terms of a facilitative kind of a measure, given that a lot of the taxpayers industry, they will have multiple registrations, right? And they will have to deal with audit observations with multiple states in that sense. So using all those kind of data to bring in some kind of a internal consistency in approaches, is there something that you're already doing or thinking to use technology to enable some of those things?
Yeah, so there's one key, what we do is jurisdiction scoring. If I may use that word, it's an internal jargon that we use. Jurisdiction scoring involves marking jurisdictions and giving their average revenue streams, right? So this helps them to know what is their trend, and also we use prediction for that. The next thing is GST indexing. We also provide indicators to the tax administrations as to which GSTNs, and we try to map their behavior. Now, obviously, it will be very difficult to track all the GSTNs in a particular jurisdiction, but we focus on the large revenue streams. And when we have their trends, the jurisdiction officers are able to ensure by getting these leads from us, from our AI team, as to what to expect in the coming month or quarter. So revenue forecasting, jurisdiction scoring, indexing of the GSTNs, and also we do a gap analysis for revenue. So all these have helped the they are mostly they help the taxpayers as well as the administration.
Very interesting, Pankaj, some of these initiatives. One of the key challenge which industry faces is about the mismatch of input credits, and the burden of proof is on them to set this. And I don't know how much of this is solvable in short run, but a presumption would be that given we are using technology so much, these problems shouldn't arise. So maybe, am I correct in saying that it can be easily solved by technology, or do you think there are other factors which probably will make it, a bit of a work in progress, and it's not just about technology?
In fact, we have provided all the tools to the trade and industry. So you would have heard of the GSTR 2A and GSTR 2B. We are using technology for the benefit of trade and industry. We provide them the ITC that is eligible to them for a particular month, and it would be in their best interests to take that as the right figure, because this comes from the system and it's a technology generated report without manual interventions. So you file your GSTR 1 and let's say on 10th or 11th. By the 13th or 14th, you have the GSTR 2B, which tells you how much of ITC you can claim. And this is all based on the sales summary which the trade itself has filed. And hence, when they go for the payments on the 20th of the month or 22nd, 24th, depending on which part of the country they are, it would be best that they follow this particular rule. And these tools were not there some time back. It's based on the feedback of the industry that we provide them by using technology. So I think I am able to provide an answer that we are working for the trade industry and using technology for the benefit.
Absolutely, Pankaj. GSTN has this vision, right, to be the national information utility. That's the way you look at GSTN in some sense. But when you think about it, right, there are some conversations around saying that, okay, when will we see the integration of the income tax portal with the GST? Or let's say there is a lot of reporting that industry does to the authorities for special economic zones and being export and so on and so forth. And then similar filings are also done on GST. So is there also a plan which is already in works, or what is it that we can look forward to in terms of just integration, bringing together a lot of this, and also maybe, since we're also coming close to the end of the chat, you could give a glimpse of what is it that we can look forward to when we think about maybe just a year or so in terms of the use of technology.
So, see, in terms of features, I'll just give you a recent example. We provided a feature of a single click filing for taxpayers who have no taxes to file. That's the latest use of technology we provided them, and it rolled out just a short time back. As far as integration of, you've talked about the SEZ, so I'll take that as the ice skate or the custom system. Then we have the income tax, and of course, we are the indirect tax. See, all these systems have their individual, jurisdictions and their frameworks, and these are all governed by law. Integrating them would again require some regulatory frameworks, because GST system does not have the mandate to share data with anybody else, because we are simply the custodians of this data of the trade and industry of the country on behalf of Ministry of Finance.
Just to interrupt, I understand the fact that it will be driven by some kind of a regulatory enablement, but at a just purely from a administration, taxpayer, and efficiency kind of a perspective, do you think there is a merit in thinking about such an integration? Purely, from a taxpayer perspective, it could just be single source of information going out and then internally being used by different different parts of the administration, and then internally it could have various efficiencies. So I don't know. Keep the law aside for a moment, but what do you think?
Ashish, you're trying to put me in a spot, but because it's common sense. Wherever you have integration of various systems, there would be benefits to be gained. But you must realize that data is there of a certain section of the society or citizens, which has been placed in a system with a certain authority and certain accountability and responsibility. Unless that is properly scrutinized by the lawmakers, it would not be prudent. You are right in thinking that if we integrate three systems, probably there might be a benefit. Obviously, I mean, it's a no-brainer. But you must also understand the sensitivity of the data which is there. It's not a simple thing of, mails and your Word documents and PPTs being available in one place. It's a person's hard-earned money through one tax system and another. And unless the lawmakers are able to find a way of doing it for the benefit, I would not be able to, comment on that beyond that.
No, absolutely, Pankaj. I think we have multiple things happening on the regulatory and policy side, including the National Data Governance Framework, and then possibly looking at that as an enablement. And then next step, I'm sure there is a journey to be had there. But it has been amazing talking to you and listening to all these excellent initiatives. And we do hope that in the next couple of years or so, the use of technology will get more and more mainstream, and especially the benefits of AI in tax administration, not only from a point of view of enforcement, but also from a point of view of facilitative measures for the industry will only grow. So great talking to you, Pankaj. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ashish. Thank you, NASSCOM, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Colonel Dikshit, for that brilliant deliberation and for your perspectives. And of course, thank you, Ashish, for chairing that informative session.